Welcome to America's Top Rebbetzins. In the merit of this class, may Hashem watch over all the Jewish people and give enormous strength to the IDF soldiers, including Chaim Tzvi ben Tamar Tolza, Hannah Bas Penina, Hanan Abraham ben Arihaim, and Hananya ben Shira Tova. Please click on the subscribe button to subscribe to us on the America's Top Rebbetzins YouTube page, or click follow to follow us on your podcasting app so that you are the first to know when an inspiring new episode is posted. Today, I'm really, really happy and genuinely honored to welcome Rebbetzin Lisa Babich to our podcast. Rebbetzin Lisa is a Rebbetzin of the Fifth Avenue Synagogue in New York City. She's also a speech and language pathologist. Rebbetzin Lisa was a teacher at the American-based seminary, TBY, and she taught Emet Russian outreach for 5 years. In addition, she taught at the West Village-based Jewish Enrichment Center alongside her husband, Rabbi Eli Babich. Currently, she writes a dating advice column for the popular Navigators in the Five Towns Jewish Times, and she's also a popular college teacher who loves learning with people and exploring their Jewish heritage. Wow, thank you so much for being here. Please tell us more about yourself and what you do.
Hi, yes. I mean, you pretty much summed it up. I do. I love learning with people. I'm in the heart of Manhattan, so you come across all types of people, all, levels of Judaism, and it's something very special. Me and my husband love doing. We love hosting. We have lots of guests on Shabbos, so it's very nice. We really, really enjoy it.
That's beautiful. And how long have you been the Rebbetzin of the Fifth Avenue Synagogue?
Um, So we started off 11 and a half years ago as the assistant. Um,
Okay.
it was
Mhm.
interesting when we first took the position, it was really my husband was working downtown at the Jewish Enrichment Center. It was called the JC. Now it's called More, but at that time it was a little different. It was like a birthright follow-up program.
Oh, wow.
And we thought it'd be so cool to live in the city to, be able to have all of our birthright students over. And it ended up being that once we joined the shul, we really fell in love with the shul. And my husband was the assistant, and then the main rabbi ended up making aliyah.
Oh, nice.
And then we became the interim. And then I believe in 2019, that's when he became the main rabbi of the synagogue. Yeah.
That is so beautiful. Very, very nice.
Yeah.
I love that. And, I'm just really, really excited because today we're actually going to talk about a topic that has not yet been discussed on this podcast. I'm super excited about this. It's a really important topic, and it's about social media. Because if you think about it, social media, the way that we know it via apps like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Reddit and Snapchat, it's a relatively new concept. Most people who are listening to this podcast didn't grow up with social media. For me personally, my social media was going outside and playing with my friends. There were no cell phones, and if I was home and I called my friend on her landline and she wasn't home, I had to wait sometimes many hours until she came home and then called me back. Like that was the extent of our communication.
Yeah.
Nothing was instant. We had no instant messaging, no instant comments. We had to wait for everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. People interacted with each other in person at each other's houses, in school, or at a party, and there was no online connection. And things have changed so much since then. And I don't want to make it sound like it's all bad because it's generally not all bad. And I just want to make it clear, social media is not all bad. It definitely has a lot of advantages. And we're going to have a really good discussion about this today. So I want to start off by inviting you to share your thoughts about social media.
Sure. So social media is the type of thing that I have a real love-hate relationship with.
I get that.
Um, yeah, a few years ago, it started to really explode. I would say even during COVID, it really started to explode.
Definitely.
And I used to be under the impression like I'm not going to share myself or my life at all on social media because I found that while there was so much good on social media, the one thing I can't stand is showing off or insincerity or, a lot of people do a lot of good things, but there's also a lot of clout in it. Like you do a lot of good things, you also get a lot of kavod and attention and a lot of things are paid. People don't realize, a lot of times when people are supporting different causes, it's beautiful, but they're also charging a lot to do that. And there was a lot about social media that I found was extremely insincere. But then I started to also realize that it's the way, like you were saying, you grew up playing outside or calling your friends. I laugh. I remember me and my cousin were laughing when I was a kid. If people wanted to advertise anything, a singles event, like any type of event that was going on, they would take out an article in the Jewish press, if you remember.
I love the Jewish press. I actually received my copy today. That's so
Yeah.
funny. I love it.
Yes, and everything was like an article in the Jewish press if you wanted to show anything, to the Jewish world. But it's rapidly changed. People now advertise any type of thing through social media.
Yes.
And even great things. If you want people to learn Torah, there's a lot of it on social media. There's a lot of amazing rabbis and rebbetzins that share so much on social media. If you want to share, inspiration, chizuk after October 7th, people were feeling so alone and
Yes.
upset and we're still feeling upset, but there was a place you can go on social media and get chizuk and get insight. And so I started to realize, you know what? I can't be anti-social media because it is the way of the world, especially I'm in Manhattan, I don't live in Bnei Brak. I'm in an area where people are on their phones and connected, but I also felt like I have to do it my way. And it's a constant struggle and balance. I'm very sensitive to the showing off aspect of it because I think we live in a world where people have so many challenges in
Yes.
every area, infertility, trying to find a shidduch, people that don't have a job and they don't have so much money. And then people are showing off, not even their vacations, but their, thousands of dollars of clothes and their shoes that they spent so much money on. And I feel like sometimes I look at some pages and I'm like, what is exactly the goal there? Like, I know the over goal that they're sharing is that they're, doing this advocacy or this or that, but I feel like to myself, I'm just like, but is that like it's through a way that is so I don't know, like we always were taught in Judaism, like Matavu Alecha Yaakov Mishkanosecha Yisrael, the Jews were praised in the desert for not having their windows open that everybody sees everything going in everyone's life. So I think that social media is kind of the antithesis of that. You're seeing so much into people's lives and sometimes it's great, and there are people who do it beautifully and tactfully and amazing. And sometimes it just doesn't sit right with me personally. So I think when I joined social media, I had to, and I'm constantly, sometimes I'll be like about to post something and then I'll send it to like a really good friend of mine or a mentor and I'll say, like, does this sound showing off? Does this sound like I'm bragging? Most of the time they tell me I'm being crazy. They're like, that's not bragging. I could show you what bragging is. But I don't know. I've had my challenges in life. And just like wouldn't want to be somebody, I wouldn't want someone to brag and everything. I don't know. I think so that's like my love-hate relationship with it because I feel like we can't live with it, but we can't live without it. And it's just a delicate balance.
It is. It's so true. I completely like everything that you're saying resonates with me. Like I really, really do agree with you. And it is, and it's a hard balance because yes, you see some people who are frequent posters. They post not just once a day, but multiple times a day. And it's again, it's not all bad, and it's sometimes it's really, really informative. Like you said, maybe there's an event, maybe there's a speaker, maybe there's some information on somebody who may be struggling, like you said, maybe with infertility or a child with Down syndrome, and there's where you can get information. So that's actually really, really helpful.
Right.
And that's like one of the beneficial aspects of social media. And then
Yeah.
there's the other one, like, and I do want to address the showing off aspect because I also noticed that for me, I guess in my everybody's feed is different. So everybody's social media feed is different. For in
Mhm.
my feed, everybody's losing weight. Everybody was once 200 pounds and now they're like 150 pounds and now they lost so much weight and this is their weight loss journey. First of all, I think it's beautiful. Like I do. Like losing weight is it's a struggle and it's a real journey. Like I really want to put that out there. But
Yeah.
they're showing now before I couldn't wear a bikini. Now I'm in a bikini. And here I was at home depressed. And now I'm in the Bahamas. Look at me, I'm on the beach. It's just those photos always make me stop and think. Like it's really, really good for the person. I wanna make that clear. But
Yeah.
why does everybody else in the cyberspace have to know? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I
Right.
always question like why did you post it? Like and what I want to share is like what I came up when I was thinking about that is a lot of people are lonely and they need affirmation. So if I'm going to show you that I went from not wearing a bikini to wearing a bikini, my friends and my birthday celebration, everything, you're going to validate me and you're going to like me and tell me how wonderful I am, tell me how awesome I am. And I'm not discrediting anybody's like need for validation. We all need to have a need for validation.
100%.
Yes. So I want to put that on
And
the
I
table.
think the real question is like the balance. Like
Yeah.
I totally get wanting to sometimes come on and share your good news with your friends and your
Yes.
followers, and that's okay. The question is, to what extent,
Yes.
to what extent are you always posting pictures where you and your husband are all over each other on vacations? Like, yes, of course, if you went on a very special vacation and you're excited about it, and you're in Israel, or even not, even like you're on an island somewhere, that's okay, that's fine. It doesn't have to be extreme in either way, but then if like social media could become excessive. So I get it. Like if you lost weight and you're proud of yourself and you worked hard and you
Yeah.
lost those 150 pounds, you want to share that. And that's okay. Like that's the world we're living in. We live in a world of social media, but then it's like, is every post about it? Or like somebody gets engaged. There's a lot of singles in Manhattan on the Upper East Side, a lot of singles that come to the shul, and I get it. Like sometimes you'll get engaged after years and years of being single. You're so excited to show it, and you should. Everybody is so excited to wish you mazel tov.
Yes.
Then some people show it day and day and day, and the love of my life, and I just found my love, and I can't stop with my lover out for dinner, and it's like so excited, and that's even 10 posts is okay, but sometimes it becomes like hundreds of posts about the body or the whatever thing you had, and I think it's just something. I don't think this ever was our way, before social media. I don't know.
It really wasn't. It was, yes, of course. If something positive happened to you, whatever, maybe you got a great job. Maybe you were unemployed for like a year and now you got a great job.
Right,
You would call your family, you call your aunts and uncles in California, they would hear about it. Like everybody would
yeah,
hear about it, but your everybody would hear about it. You know what I
right,
mean? Your family, your friends, not friends of friends of friends of friends who you really
right.
don't know, but you're kind of mutual friends because you were connected through somebody that you also don't really know.
Right,
It,
right, right.
everything is very public, and I actually wrote down what you said about the Jews in the desert because that really struck me because when they set out their tents, the door to their tents was not directly facing the door to somebody else's tents. People weren't looking in on each other. Like there was some modicum of privacy. Each family had their own privacy, even if they were just cooking. Even that's all they were doing in their tent. They were just cooking,
Right, right, right.
you know?
100%. Because I mean, and they were so praised for that
Yes.
because that is a noble way to live. I get it. We're not in the desert. We're not in tents anymore. We're in a different world. But I mean, maybe I'm more sensitive to it because I speak to so many people going through so many marital issues, financial issues, singlehood,
Yes.
infertility, everything you name it, things even crazier, much crazier,
Yes.
those are like normal issues. Then there's like much bigger things. And I just sometimes I'll see something on social media and I'll be like, oh my gosh, like I hope so and so doesn't see that,
Right.
like I'm almost,
You cringe.
yeah. But yes, again, it's a balance, and it's not that you can't share things and you can't, I could see someone saying back to me, well, people shouldn't be so jealous, 100%. But there's a balance. There's a balance, if somebody can't afford a vacation and somebody else is going on vacation every single day and showing it every day, I mean, you're kind of asking for them to be a little jealous because you're showing it so much. But yes, of course. I mean, we're so excited for everyone. I'm so happy for the person who lost weight and for the person
Right.
who, is got a job after a year, and the person who has the baby, even if it's their 10th baby, we're so excited for them.
Yeah.
But just want to be a little bit mindful. I think really being more mindful would do wonders.
Right. No, I totally agree with you. And now, like, I'm getting to the mind of the people that are like watching this and listening to this. I know that they would want to ask. So how, like, what would that balance look like? Like, how would they be? Like, how do you know what to post? How do you know what to be, what to be more discreet?
I think for everybody that's different. I think that that's really different. For some people, they're going to be much more out there than others, and that's okay because that's, maybe that's their comfort level, where other people are more private. Sometimes I'll see, bloggers post like, or influencers will post, my husband doesn't want his picture shown, so they'll never show their husband's face. And that's their comfort level, whereas, or they'll never show their children's faces, where somebody else, that's completely not something that they feel, they feel sensitive about, and that's fine. That's both equally fine. I think for each person, it's a really different answer, but I think it's just about being a bit more mindful. That's all. Like asking yourself before you post something, or, what's my intention? What's my goal here? Am I soup feeling very insecure? So I want everyone to tell me like how awesome I look, or am I doing it because I'm really excited to share it with my friends? Those are very different. Intent matters a lot. I'll never, it's like a little bit of a different topic, but I'll never forget. I had a Rebbetzin in Israel that I was very close with, Ariella Goffman. And she said to me, like, there's two people who spend an hour getting dressed in the morning. One person spends an hour getting dressed because they feel so insecure and they feel like they need the makeup and the hair and like they just don't feel good about themselves and they need it to build themselves up. And then she said the second person, it's the opposite. They feel so royal and regal on the inside that they want that to be displayed on the outside. They want their outside to represent their inside. And she said there were both two people doing the same thing, but with very different intentions and goals. And she was using it towards tznius. She was saying like the second one is like the epitome of modesty, is like you want to feel so regal on the inside that you're sharing that with the world on the outside. Um, but I think in this case, that same example is like it's even healthy for you to ask yourself for your own personal confidence. Am I sharing this because I'm feeling really insecure right now? Maybe it's better if I don't share it and I work on giving myself a boost inwardly and say like I'm good, I'm great, I look awesome regardless if people, comment. Or maybe you're doing it because you're really excited and you genuinely want to share that with everyone. So I think it's just a good thing to ask yourself to just be mindful. What's my intention? So like again, like I don't mean anything extreme that people can't post things or whatever. It's just about being mindful and balanced. That's what I think.
I love it. And like you just like hit the nail on the head. Like it was like for me, it's like psh. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like you just really, really like what's your intention? Why are you posting this? Like before you could write it everything down before you click post. Why am I posting this? Is this really what I want to post? Or
Right.
maybe I want to post the photo, but maybe what I wrote underneath the photo, maybe I kind of want to change that a little bit,
Right.
just to be more mindful so you can instead of being bragging and showing off it could be coming from a more wholesome place, a more sharing place, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. There could be so much sincerity in your
Yes,
posting it. It could be so sincere. You just
yes,
want to make sure that you're being as sincere as you can be. And also it's good for you. Like if you're constantly looking for outside validation, um,
right,
like that's not, it's you're training your brain, like even from like a cognitive, like a CBT perspective,
yeah,
um you're training your brain to like constantly be needing outside validation, even though it's hard to sometimes say I'm not going to post this to get that validation. You're training yourself that like it's okay, I'm still wonderful even if I don't hear it from the world. So it's healthy for yourself. It's not even about other people always, it's about for yourself. You want to be somebody who's inwardly confident. The more confident you are, the more happy you're going to be.
it's so true, and I love that. And you brought up a really good point that I want to point out about the likes. So now you already posted it. Whatever you posted, it's already up there. Now you're like checking back. How many likes did I get? One, two, three, four, 10. Oh wow, I'm amazing. What? Nobody liked my post? Oh my God, this is ruining my day. It's like really the two extremes. And like to your point, what you said, like whoever likes it. Whoever doesn't like it, doesn't like it. It doesn't change who you are as a person. You have to have your own inner confidence and go
Right.
from there, as
If
opposed
you
to
could
relying on.
probably post and then
Yeah,
put the phone down, that's
yeah.
probably an awesome way to post because I posted it, but the results don't matter because I already
Yes.
know who I am.
It's 100%. It's 100% on the
Yeah.
money. And so now, I want to ask you a question because we're talking about us and adults, and we really are the role models for our children. So that's really where it starts. So I'm so glad that we talked about us. But many of the people who are watching, they have kids who are tweens, teens, and even younger who have access to social media.
Yes.
So I guess my first question is, at what age do you think it's appropriate to give children access to social media?
So I think like that again is case specific. I think that like everybody's coming from different worlds, different families, different schools. There's different norms in different schools. You also don't want your children to feel like you're the parent that's stifling them the most. And
Yep.
but what I try to do with my children is I try to always have open dialogue with them. So instead of things being just off limits and I said no and there's no social media, I think I would sit down with my kids and discuss with them my feeling. So if they were at an age where I wasn't comfortable yet, I think I would explain to them. I mean, this isn't social media, but my kids are a little younger. My oldest is 9, but a lot of kids his age have iPads.
Yes.
Um, a lot of his cousins have iPads, and me and my husband don't feel like that would be right for our kids. We don't need them addicted to more devices. They're constantly stealing my phone to play games, and
Yeah.
it's just like they're young in our eyes, even though I know kids get iPads much younger ages. And sometimes my son will say, like, oh, for my birthday, I'm gonna get an iPad. And I'll say, no, we're not getting you an iPad, but we can get you something else. But we'll talk it out. It's not just like a firm no. And I think that's really important with all parenting things. I remember, I mean, it's many years ago, I was in seminary in Sherfman's, and I had a few roommates that grew up. I grew up more modern Orthodox. And I grew up, I mean, even maybe more a little bit than modern Orthodox, and I came more to the right. Like I never thought I'd wear a sheitel and like all these things. But there was a few girls I was living with who grew up really, really, really right wing. And they said what kind of turned them off sometimes was like if they wanted to go to a movie, it was very extreme. Like there's no movies, and like their mother would almost be tearing, like, how could it be that my kids want to see movies?
Right.
So I think I think that, and I remember asking them, so like, what would have been a better approach than just like, no, no, it's off limits. And they said like the extreme was too much for them. Like maybe if you could have explained it to them, it, instead of the movie being like this off limits thing, they just wanted it more. And I think with social media as well, like a parent could say to a kid, you know what, there's a lot on social media. It could create hours and hours and hours of scrolling.
Yes.
You're at an age where you're in school, you're studying, you're making friends. I just don't think it's going to be emotionally healthy for you. If your child's really pushing back, then maybe like that's where a conversation and a compromise has to be. I'm not comfortable with you. It could either be I'm really not comfortable with this. Let's revisit in 6 months. Listen, as a parent, you could be thinking in yourself, I wish my kids were more sheltered, and I don't like that they're asking me this. But I think we have to be honest with who each of our kids are. We could have a vision of where we want them to be, but they are going to be their own people ultimately. And it could be that a parent is raising their child sheltered and they're hoping that means they'll never ask for social media, but your kid is going to be their own person and they might still want it. And I think the best relationship you can have with your kid is an open, honest one. And you could definitely make your firm boundary, but you could explain why. You could compromise with them and say maybe you can go on it, an hour a week or whatever it is that you decide. But I think nothing's black and white, and I think that's the healthiest approach to parenting in general.
Right. No, I totally agree. And I really like that. It's really, it's not black and white because everybody's different. Every family is different. Every community is different. And what might be completely acceptable and normal in one community could be like completely shunned in a different community. And you
Yeah,
don't want to make your kids feel like they're the black sheep in their community.
right.
It's alienating to them. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's
mhm.
alienating, and yeah, I always say you have to be normal, you gotta just like again, balanced. And yeah, sometimes our kids, they don't do exactly how we wanted them to be or exactly
Right.
how we wanted them to, come out in certain areas, but that's okay. Like we probably aren't exactly what our parents wanted us to be in every area either.
It's
So
true.
we forget that they're their own people. Like they're our kids, but they're their own person as well.
That's a really important caveat because we do forget that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's a very good point. Thank you. So, okay. So now let's say they're at an age where, or, the family said that they can have an iPhone. It's a compromise has been reached, and that's what it is. Now they have their access to device. So now there's like a new challenge, I guess, because, and I know so many parents are wondering this. How do you set limits on what your children see online and also post online? Because it's a different thing. What you're seeing and what you're posting, completely different. Because we want to protect our children, but at the same time, they're in middle school and high school, they're fighting for their own autonomy, like we were talking about. So it is really like a delicate balance. So, what advice would you give to parents who are trying to create boundaries around social media for their children while still allowing them to participate in the social media phenomenon?
Yeah. Yeah, and I've seen this and I've spoken to parents about this, and I think I think it's discussing it with them, coming up with a balance that you both feel comfortable with. And listen, there's going to be compromise on both ends, and it might be nobody's 100% satisfied, but that's what making a compromise is. I know that there's a family I'm close with, and I know a few years ago the mother was like, no social media for my kids, no way, no way, no way, to the point like I don't even think she let her daughter go on WhatsApp. And now the daughter's a few years older, and she's like, oh, what's your name on Instagram? I want to follow you. And I remember thinking in my head, like, oh, that changed a lot since she was 12. Now she's, I guess, and not sure what grade she's in, but she's a few years older.
Mhm.
But that's also like they probably started to learn that like their daughter was maybe she was rebelling a little bit, and she was starting to feel that pressure of like they're not giving me anything, they're not even giving me WhatsApp. um and so I think that the best way is you have to make a compromise that you'll both feel 75% comfortable with. It's not that you might each walk away 100% comfortable, but something together. The parent could say, I don't want you to go on social media at all, but you do want to go on it. And the parent might start by saying an hour a week, and the child might say, that's nothing, an hour a week. Like
Right,
that is nothing. That's like a Friday afternoon, after school.
right,
So maybe the parent will say, I don't want you on your phone at school. If I see you're on your phone at school, I'm taking away social media. But after school, like they can make up maybe a half hour a day, an hour a day. I mean, it could be the child will still walk away and be really frustrated. Oh, my parents are so strict. And it could be the parent will walk away frustrated. Like, I really don't want this.
right.
But I think, listen, there's things you can draw your line. Of course, every parent has their boundary. There's things that you're just not going to let your kids do because you don't believe in it. Um, it's your, um, like your moral compass and
Right.
your values. But it's if everything is like such a strict value, like that's where it becomes very intense. So you have to decide to what extent. And I think that that's a discussion between a husband and a wife without the child
Right.
and then with the child. And I
Yeah.
think even it could be hard between a spouse. It could be one person is much more lenient and free with these things, and they're
Yeah.
just like, who cares? Just let her have it.
Right.
And it could be the other one is so strong. No, I don't want this in our house. And that could be really challenging too as a couple because you see how much tension it's causing with your kid and you just don't care as much as the other one does about it. So, all these things with, I guess, everything really with your children and
Yeah.
raising them, it's a lot of communication. It's a lot of communication between spouses. And when needed, sometimes you do need outside guidance from a therapist or a rabbi or a mentor. It's really about getting everybody on a somewhat comfortable page. And again, not everyone's going to be 100% satisfied, but that's what compromise is. It's enough that everybody feels somewhat okay.
I really like it. I'm so happy that you're talking about compromise because some people are black and white. I said no, and it means no. I don't want to hear what you have to say. I said no, end of story. So that I think if you're in that situation, it causes the children to go behind your back because if
Yeah.
they really want to do something, they're going to find a way by hook or by crook to do it.
Yes.
So yes, I just wanted
But
to
listen,
bring
there's certain things that like you just are like, no, it's
certain things.
crossing your line. But
Yeah,
right. But then there are those things that it's gray. It's just not black and white. And
right.
it's very hard. Life is not black and white. So it's very hard if you're a very black and white thinker in such a gray world. It could be challenging.
For sure, for sure. And I'm glad that you pointed out. It's true. And a lot of it is gray. Like a lot of our world is gray. It's true that there's some black and white, but a lot of it is this gray where we need a lot of communication between spouses and children and everything like that. So it's so
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, definitely.
So we have time for one last question. And, I always enjoy when my guests share personal anecdotes or personal perspectives that relate to the topic that we're talking about. So I know that your kids are kind of young, but I want to ask you what you would personally tell your children about social media and how you in particular would help them navigate their way online because every parent, they're struggling. Some want to give in a little bit more. Some are like absolutely no. And I'm just wondering if you can please share with us what you would do because I think that it could help other moms get ideas for them and their children.
Yeah. So it was actually really funny because sometimes I fall into the category of endless scrolling and it's a time waster. And sometimes when I do, my kids sit next to me, so they're watching. So one day one of my kids was watching with me. It was like an organization. I don't know, it was an organization, representing their I don't know what it was. And in a lot of these organizational videos, it's normal. You talk about the milos, the great things about your organization. And I thought it was so funny how my son, I guess, absorbed this maybe from me, my husband. He said, Mommy, doesn't that rabbi sound like he's bragging a lot?
So
And I said,
interesting.
no, he's trying to raise money for his organization. He's like, but it's not so nice to go on to like, why would you go on and just talk about how amazing you are and how great you are and how great your organization is? And I was explaining to him. So it's like funny how they even pick it up. Um, but I think with my kids, there's other things that aren't even social media. My kids want to go on my phone and they want to go on YouTube a lot.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
say like we're not watching every day. Like this is not what we're doing. Um, and I think with them, like there comes a lot of these compromises. What I would do with my children if they really, really wanted social media, I would first of all explain to them like there's so many things on social media that I don't want you to see, that I'm not comfortable with. So what exactly on social media do you want to see? What is it that you want to follow? And maybe I would have them, I would say, if you're going to go on social media, I want to know what you're following.
Right.
Listen, you could still see things you're not following, and you could really see anything you want to see on social media, from every area of everything. But I think that I think I would really talk it out with them, and then I would make really set boundaries. Again, like if I see that you're on it during school, then we're ending that because I don't want it interfering with your school.
For
If I
sure.
see that you're just scrolling for hours and hours and hours every night, then we need to make a limit. It's got to be a certain amount of time. I think I would have to make boundaries around it and discuss it with them and explain to them why I'm making certain boundaries, why there's certain things that why certain things that I think is good for them and not good for them. And listen, they'll have their opinions back.
For sure.
And I think my job is to listen to what they have to say as well. But I would also have to explain to them why I don't think this is good for you. And, together we'd have to come up with a plan. I think that's the best way. And if there was a plan that we can't come across, I would probably get advice from one of my mentors or someone that I know is like really, really good when it comes to chinuch and ask them like I'm very into getting advice. I think that, there are people out there that are always much wiser and, you could get some really great advice and guidance. And I think if I was really at a standstill with my kids and I really wasn't comfortable and they weren't comfortable, I would ask somebody bigger than me what they think I should do.
I love that. I think it's so open-minded of you. I think it's so open-minded of you because like listen, we're all limited human beings. Like you don't know everything, and maybe you can benefit from hearing somebody else's opinion, somebody else's advice, maybe even someone who has older kids who's more experienced, who has gone through things that you have yet to go through with them. So I think it's so, so smart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also want to mention one last thing. It's not
Yes.
quite social media, but I just think it's very important to get out there. Sometimes kids will play games on the computer, like a Roblox or a Minecraft or whatever the games are, and they're interactive. People can talk to each other in the games, and they're chatting with each other as they're playing the games. And I
Yeah.
always told my kids, do not tell your name, don't tell your address, don't tell your phone number, don't give personal information about yourself because you don't know who's on the other end. This could be another person pretending to be a kid, like an adult pretending to be a kid.
100%.
So I just really want to get it out there, Nick, never to really, really give all your personal details.
Yeah. Yeah. Safety is very important. Exactly. To express that to your kids.
Yes.
How they can't be, naive. Not everybody's,
Not everybody's good. Yeah.
everyone's a good guy. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Rebbetzin Lisa, for
Thank
joining us in
you.
America's Top Rebbetzins.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so nice. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And in the merit of this class, may Hashem watch over all the Jewish people and give enormous strength to the idea of soldiers, including Chaim Tzvi ben Tamar, ben Tamar Tolza, Hana ben Panina, Hanan Avraham ben Ari Chaim, and Hananya ben Shira Tova. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much.